For thousands of years, people have been marking their bodies with tattoos. This form of permanent design, sometimes simple, other times extremely intricate, but always with a personal meaning, has served various purposes, from indicating status to symbolizing faith or conveying secret messages. In 1981, over 20 clay human figurines were discovered in northeastern Romania, at Cucuteni. All these figurines had complex decorations carved along their bodies. The human figurines were created by the Cucuteni people, who lived between 4800 and 3000 BCE, and experts believe they must have played an important role in the life of this culture. Some scientists have interpreted these lines as representations of body modifications. They could be tattoos, says archaeologist Douglas Bailey from the University of San Francisco. Some argue that they are clothing or represent something else that we cannot understand. The truth is, we may never unravel the mystery of the patterns on the bodies of the Cucuteni figurines. And if we look at it from a different perspective, this gap might be unimportant. What is important is that the people who lived during that period used their body surfaces to communicate ideas, whether it was messages related to group affiliation or individual identity. Douglas Bailey notes that early Paleolithic figurines, such as the Venus of Willendorf, were unmarked, and incisions on the bodies of figurines only appeared after the beginning of the Neolithic period, when ceramics started to be made and decorated. In the Neolithic, people made incisions in pottery using a sharp object. If the vessel was a metaphor for the body, the engraving process could be seen as a form of tattooing, Bailey suggests. Although the practice may have existed in the Paleolithic, there is no evidence to indicate that tattoos existed earlier than 7,000 years ago. Perhaps it was only after the first pottery was decorated that people started making permanent changes to their own bodies. The first European civilization, the Cucuteni people, 5500 to 3500 BCE, were the earliest documented civilization in Europe, preceding the civilizations of Sumer and ancient Egypt by several hundred years. They were also the predecessors of the Dacian people, and thus the ancestors of today's Romanians. Cucuteni civilization definition. The Cucuteni culture, 5500 to 3500 BCE, is the oldest documented civilization in Europe and one of the oldest in the world. Elements of the Cucuteni culture were first discovered in Romania, revealing a civilization that extended from the northeast of the Transylvania region, Moldova, to Ukraine. The Cucuteni people had an advanced system of construction, engaged in agriculture and animal husbandry, possessed various techniques including water desalination, and were renowned for their pottery and painting. The fusion of the Cucuteni civilization with migrating Indo-European peoples resulted in the formation of the Thracian people, namely the Dacians, the ancestors of Tadacians. The Cucuteni culture was a trailblazer in many respects, being the world's first civilization to build houses with multiple floors. Their communities lived in settlements with up to 20,000 dwellings. The Cucuteni people left behind unique pottery in Europe. They created pottery manually and decorated objects with spiral patterns, using red, black, and white as characteristic colors. The only similarities found were with the pottery of a Neolithic culture in China, which emerged 1,000 years after the European one. An important element in Cucuteni ceramics and paintings was the motif of the wolf, often represented on pottery through dancers wearing wolf masks. This motif was passed down over time and became the basic symbol of the Dacians, the ancestors of present-day Romanians, who inhabited the Transylvania region. The population wore tattoos representing totemic signs that denoted a mode of integration and identification within their social structure. The tattoos featured geometric motifs arranged symmetrically and served as inspiration for the creation of clay figurines found by archaeologists in Transylvania. Another important element is the absence of statuettes depicting slaves, indicating the pacifist nature of this civilization. The Cucuteni culture came to an end around 3500 BC when it merged with the Indo-European population, resulting in the Thracian population, from which the Dacians emerged. This means that the population residing in Transylvania carries the genes of the oldest civilizations, and indirectly, Dacian mythology contains elements of originality.